Well, I said yesterday it was going to be another low-scoring game. Of course I was wrong. We don't know baseball here, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Guardians starting pitching put the offense behind the eight ball. They responded, but in the end couldn't hit enough shots to come back overall. We'll touch on that, Logan Allen's rough start, and why picking first overall in the draft risk is a little bit different when it comes to assessing overall talent. It's time for Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home the big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. And yes, I did have to pause there to remember, what day is it? It's been one of those weeks. And today was one of those games. It started out.
Sure was.
Just up and down and up and down. And then
I didn't
down.
see that back and forth coming early on. I got to be honest. Logan Allen, 2 straight days, the Guardians gave up a leadoff homer to start the game, which is never how you want to do it. Got ambushed early, but, McKenzie turned things around. He was good. And it's not like this Tigers offense is good. Like, there's a lot of holes in this Tigers lineup right now, and they're not scoring runs. So it looked good that Tristan McKenzie wasn't having issues against them on Monday, but Logan Allen, we cannot say the same for, but I didn't see them responding the way they did offensively and even taking the lead early. We said yesterday I wouldn't be surprised, or I said, I'll take the blame for it. I said that wouldn't be surprised if Tuesday's been a low-scoring affair, and it was low-scoring for the first 2 pitches of the game, and then after that it was not. And I kept thinking, well, the first team to score 2 touchdowns is going to win, and the Tigers kept I think the Tigers ended up getting an extra field goal there out of that. Yeah, or extra safety and a field goal, and Guardians scored a touchdown, and they just stopped scoring. But really the big story was Logan Allen just out of the gate. And he's had starts like this before. Like, this is some stuff you've seen in the minors from him. He is not a guy who's got elite stuff, right? Like, he's got a fastball that's topside at 93, and it's more deceptive than it is power. And he's got to command it to the right spots. And then the sweeper is good if he's ahead. If he can throw up strikes. Like, he's got 2 pitches that can induce swing and misses or weak contact, but he's got to be ahead and he's got to throw those pitches for strikes in order to execute them. And, he only threw 4 called strikes on the fastball and 6 foul balls, 6 in play. So the strike rate on the fastball was just abysmal in this game. And he is not the kind of pitcher who can overcome. I mean, nobody can overcome fastball command, truthfully. If you can't control your fastball, you're going to get, hit around, because major league hitters are eventually going to not swing at anything else, and they're going to wait until you throw the fastball in the zone. And he was never able to do that. I mean, he threw the fastball in the zone. When he did, it got crushed, and the secondary stuff was just not there at all. And he's had bouts like this in the minors before. He is a guy who does rely on command, and he nibbles sometimes. He gets deep into counts. He can't put guys away. I mean, he only had 2 walks. It was in 2 1/3 innings, granted, so it wasn't good. But just a guy who has to pitch differently when you throw like he does, and just put them in a bad spot. This is probably one of the worst starts I think I've ever seen from him, truthfully.
No, good. It's he's an interesting case, right? Where one can make a solid argument that his fastball is his worst pitch, and it's a secondary offering.
Oh,
and
it is 100%.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit last year, where Sarah said that great piece about pitchers overcoming expectation because they have like a good change and a good sweeper, and even though their velocity is not there, because that's the thing, when they drafted him, most people thought this is a future reliever. Like, that was what was almost universally the grade given on him. There were a few of us who thought that he'd be a starter, and yeah, this wasn't the best game, and they need him right now. They don't have any starting pitching room to spare, especially because Detroit's offense has been putrid. No other way around it. I mean, Detroit needed this type of game, so hopefully it does not get them jump started. But Yeah, he had a bad game. The bullpen, frankly, didn't have a great one either. I mean, they're asked to do a lot, so it's hard to get too upset. But we're going to see them give up more runs the more they get ridden hard like this. That's just also part of it. Like there's okay, so most of our listeners are in the
tuned out by now because we lost.
Yeah, well, true, but those who are left are like in our age range. It's like a health bar in a video game. Like you're depleting that health bar with this bullpen. There's only so many bullets, so many pitches they can throw, and
you got to find room to hide behind some kind of shield somewhere, and
you need the ability to like recoup. They need to find cover, but I mean, I guess the cover is just having more arms. It's health packs. It's not cover. Is going to be the approach with some of their depth, but yeah, it's Logan Allen's the story. The offense was relatively great. Then they kind of got completely shut down.
Yeah, we got to talk about them fading out later. Yeah, the Tigers are a bottom 10 offense. Like they're 24th in the league right now at producing runs at 93 overall, which is, close to league average, but it's not there. They have scored the least. They've scored the 20th most. Yeah, they're bottom 10 offense. They've scored 145 runs. That puts them in 20th overall. Guardians, by the way, 177 at 7 overall. So Guardians are a much better offense, but they showed it because they were able to come back, but couldn't finish the job. And some of that's really when this team scores 7 runs, they should win. That's always been the MO. It's like
if they score this season, 4, they're winning mostly.
Yeah, it's almost like this season has been a total reversal of fortune from the last several years. Like if you even going back to like, we'll throw 2020 out, but like 2019 and 2021 was just a horrid year overall because of a lot of reasons. But like if you go back into the end of the last run with Michael Brantley and Kipnis and Santana and Lindor and Jose and all those guys, pitching was still the backbone of those teams. The starting pitching was the backbone of those teams. And last year, the pitching was the backbone because the offense was terrible. In 2022, they dinked and dunked their way to the playoffs. The pitching was okay. It wasn't great. It was enough to get them through the season. The bullpen was okay. But it's almost like this season so far. It's only May 7th, thankfully, or May 8th as people are listening to this. So there's still time for this to change, but it's got to change sooner than later before you burn the bullpen out. But it's just a weird reversal of fortune that the offense is hanging in there and is keeping them in some games. The bullpen has been great, obviously, but the rotation is just very messy, which, again, was one of the outcomes we discussed in the preseason was, yeah, there's a version of this rotation that's really good and one of the best in the league. There's also a version of this rotation that's not good, and we're seeing the bad version because no Shane Bieber, and we're seeing the bad version because until recently Tristan McKenzie was building back this, and then you haven't seen Gavin Williams yet, and you've got 2 sophomore starters who are trying to navigate offenses adjusting to them and then them adjusting back and navigating their first full big league season. Just very weird. But at some point, this has to change. The starting pitching cannot continue to put them behind the 8 ball because you're not going to score 7 runs a night. And the offense has consistency issues at the bottom of the order, and the bullpen is going to get burned out. So, but that's the risk in not having any depth and nobody to call up. A year ago, you had Tanner Bybee to call up. You had Logan Allen to call up. You had Gavin Williams to call up. There is nobody to call up now. Like Joey Cantillo might come back and be fine. We don't know, but he's a risk too. And people are screaming for Xavier Curry, but like Curry's not doing well in AAA, and I don't know if he's any better than Logan Allen or Ben. He's definitely not better than Ben Lively at this point. And
yeah,
I think the thing is Carrasco.
The bullpen's been pretty solid, but like going back to some of your points there, it's like the starting pitching and even the lineup have been incredibly inconsistent. And there was a great comment on the local broadcast today. It's like yesterday's game was the first multi-hit game for Ty Freeman since opening day. Like that, he's essentially like one and done. And that's why he's hitting under. He might be above 200 now that he had 2 hits the other day. But even though his savant page is all red, you got to do other bits. And Florial had some defensive issues in the game, but he's hitting. He's showing why they went out of their way to get him. And man, what a roller coaster he has been, just in terms of like, we traded for him. He's going to be a plus defender in center field and hit for power. Cut him because he couldn't hit in spring training. And he needs to play. It's just been.
And now he's leading off.
And I was wrong on him. I didn't think he would even give him this much. So that's something I totally got wrong. But it's like, I think right now, the one thing I'll say too is, as much as I appreciate the flexibility in the lineup, it certainly feels like, with the way things are beat up, with Brennan hitting the ball hard and Florio showing things offensively, we know what the outfield's going to be. We basically know what the infield is. Odd man out is Arias. And, we know where they got to be. So hopefully some of these pieces like Bo will start getting together. Jose, hopefully it's not just that he's facing the Tigers, that he always dominates, and that this will be the springboard to him recovering. A lot of people got kind of mad in the comments about us saying that, he's never going to hit his high points again. It's just smaller players with his increased chase rate is a concern. That's what we're saying. They need this to springboard. Let's win this series. This is the important series to win, not the end of last year. So hopefully we'll see a win tomorrow. And, this being kind of positive step forwards for multiple hitters.
I love the broadcast talking about how the Tigers were talking about how important it was to beat the Guardians last year, and especially that last series. And I'm like, neither team was going to the playoffs. That series meant absolutely nothing, but they found it important to win, and it cost them draft spots. Now the Guardians are picking number 1 overall thanks to that. So sure, good for you, Tigers. You got a moral victory. I will take Travis Bazzana or Charlie Condon.
Yeah.
And you guys can pick whoever at 10 or 11, whatever they're picking.
I mean, the best guy to me who's going to be there at their pick is probably James Tibbs. And I love James Tibbs. He'll probably be the only guy who's in my top 10 who is available. It's James Tibbs or Trey Yosevich right there. That's who you have to pick from.
I will take Condon or Bazzana, and
I'll take Condon or Bazzana over them too. Every day of the
I'd
week.
be thrilled about losing that series in September last year. All right, we'll talk a little more about the pitching, just Logan Allen, and just in general needing better starts from them, and we'll get into the offense, and then we're going to wrap up the show today, coming up with why risk picking 1-1 overall is just a lot different than where the Guardians have been in the past couple of years and the risks they've taken. So look forward to that as we get into more draft talk. On a night the Guardians just were not good enough to win, even though they hit the ball early on. That was a lot of fun. So stick around for that. Guys, what are you waiting for at this point? Mother's Day is just rapidly approaching. I would be nervous at this point if I had not already made Mother's Day plans to figure out what I was getting my mom at this point. And quite frankly, there are still some things I could do some shopping for. And I'm going to get on DoorDash, and I'm going to take a look at some stuff I can get for my mom last minute for Mother's Day, because it's a good offer. 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next convenience, grocery, or retail order on DoorDash. That's when you use our code LOCKEDON MLB. Whatever mom is into, whatever, if your wife had, and you have kids together, you want to get her something special for Mother's Day, don't be the guy going to the store at the last second trying to hem and haw and figure out what to do with the card or what kind of gift you're going to do. Just, you're on your phone anyway. Let's be honest. Go scroll through on DoorDash. Know what your mom wants, or your wife, the mother of your kids wants, and go on DoorDash and shop for them. You can get all your Mother's Day gifts in one place and get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail. So order now with our code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all caps. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order DoorDash today. Terms apply. And speaking of getting the right gifts and the right parts, eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships, and it keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. The Guardians need to find something at eBay Motors for Logan Allen. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights. That might be illegal to put on a ball player, but whatever you're into, if it's speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has your car covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay guaranteed to fit, even though the Guardians starting pitching is not guaranteed to go 6th inning, eBay guaranteed fit parts are guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. You're not burning out your bullpen with your savings, with all the parts you need and the prices you want. Easy to make your car the MVP, bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. And tune into the Guardians game today on your Sirius XM app. It's a matinee against the Tigers. You can just search Guardians when you're on the app to hear all the action after you're done listening to us and you're eating your lunch or whatever you're doing. Not going to get too upset about the bullpen, right? Like, I mean, Cade Smith gave 2 hits in a run. Tim Herron gave 3 hits in a run. Two runs overall. One was earned, but Barlow was good again. 9 pitches, 1 inning of work. Remember the first, 4 outings of the year, everyone was freaking out about Scott Barlow, and now
we had people in our comments
out
who were like, cut that hippie. Like, cut the guy with the hippie hair. Like, that was a literal. And I'm not saying, I know people either love or hate when I discuss the comments. It is funny that there is no, if you're in between on that, put it in the comments. But he has been really good. And that's, again, the same thing with Florio. And, why we all need, listen, you and I have to do this show 5 days a week. We have to have some hot takes sometimes. But in general, you and I are of the, hey, you got to give it till end of May to really formulate a hard decision.
Sure.
I'm my only kind of guy I'm maybe against that with is Carrasco right now, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. But
not much option though. That's the problem.
I know that's the problem. But I think that is one of those things to take away when you're looking at some of these guys.
It is, yeah. I mean, they're still early. Overall, the Guardians are still in a good spot in terms of the division and the offense. You're still getting some good pieces. I mean, it's going to be tough to survive offensive without Steven Kwan because that really shortens the lineup up a little bit. I mean, if you can get a 1 for 4 every night out of Estevan Florial, and one of those 4 is an extra base hit, maybe he walks, that's a good night for him against right-handers. Jose Ramirez kind of had a signature Jose Ramirez night. I mean, he had 3 hits. One was hustle double. One was
bad base running error, which he never did in the past. That's so weird.
Yeah, that's the one.
His team in general.
Yeah, but we talked about that yesterday. We said, what do the Guardians have to do to survive without Steven Kwan? And they had to stop making. Yeah, Josh Naylor made it to home on Will Brennan's double, which I didn't think was going to happen. But, he forced a bad throw from the outfielder, and they didn't have a good relay. A good throw beats him. And those are situations where it's okay to get thrown out because it takes a perfect throw. That's not going to happen all the time. It didn't. But Jose Ramirez had a good night, had the infield hit, and he had the hustle double. The thing that stung about the hustle double is that, okay, he had the hustle double. He got thrown out at third on Naylor's ground out when he shouldn't have moved because it was hit to the shortstop. And then Naylor's on, and then Will Brennan comes up. It's double play, inning over. And that kind of felt like what happened to the offense all night. Like that was the 3rd or 4th inning that happened. And that took the wind out of their sails. Like Kenta Maeda came out, the bullpen came in. And we said early, I think we said on Monday's podcast that you don't want to have a deficit against the Royals when their bullpen comes in because their bullpen is just as good as the Guardians. Like the Guardians has been statistically better, but the Tigers has been really good, and they showed it because the Guardians had 4 base runners after the 2nd inning all night. That's not good. And it's hard to sit here and blame the offense because they scored 7 runs. That should be enough to win most Major League Baseball games. But Logan Allen was off. You had to throw Pedro Avila out there, who you ideally wouldn't, but he pitched better than Logan Allen. He had 1 run in 3 innings, and then your 2 young guys gave up runs.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I was the way Logan Allen was going, I was thinking, geez, they're going to have to call somebody up tomorrow, but they couldn't call up Strzelecki because he just went down. And then Wes Parsons was starting for the Clippers on Tuesday. So it's like they have nobody to call up. So he's got to eat this. And then Pedro had to eat it. But that's the thing with the offense, though, is like, okay, so Florial had a great hit. That's all you're going to get from him each night. Andres had a rough night. He did have a walk, which is good because we haven't seen that a lot from him in the past. Jose was in the zone all night. Like he did not chase out of the zone. He earned his fastballs. He did good. Naylor had the big home run. That's what you want out of him. He had a walk. Will Brennan had 1 big hit. It seems like Will Brennan's been good for 1 big hit lately. The bottom of the order just wasn't good. I mean, Manzardo is still struggling to see the right pitch he wants to swing at.
He looks, I believe in him 100%, but he looks like a kid pressing for his first hit. Like he's swinging at bad pitches. He's expanding his own. He's missing on good ones. That happens. It's a hard game. That's why Jackson Holliday, the number 1 prospect in baseball, was up for a week and a half. Like it's a tough, tricky game. But yeah, no, I mean, the bottom of the lineup is a mess. I mean, Roki at least had those Freeman. 2 walks. So at least he got him base 3 times. That's as good as anyone on this team. Freeman is really struggling. I mean, Freeman is right now, he's approaching, he's basically as productive as Miles Straw with worse defense. But I mean, that's the truth of it. And is the ceiling higher? Absolutely. Can he do better? Absolutely. But right now the production is he's Miles Straw with worse defense. Now, hopefully he'll get together, but it's been a struggle there. Bo Naylor is even worse than that. Bo Naylor is below the Zunino line that got Zunino cut a year ago. We have maybe this is just the curse of Cleveland. Here's my hot take. This team is just cursed to have a black hole in center field and catcher. Like, it doesn't matter who you put in. They're just going to be 2 of the worst hitters in baseball, because it's been the rule of catcher in center field over the last, 3-4 years. Whoever it's just been black holes of production. They're odd, it's like having your pitcher hit at those 2 spots. Now, when Bo came up last year, he changed that, but this is the historical precedent, and this year it's still happening.
Yeah, I will say Bo is hitting the ball harder lately. He did have a line out that was hit at 830 expected batting average. He did have 1 hit that was a little less so, but you'll take that. I do think Bo is going to turn it around. I think it's just he may have some issues with the swing. Like, I think he's kind of looking like that 2021 version of himself in Double-A. So there might be some swing issues to work out. Defensively, he was better. I will say he did a good job blocking balls in the dirt. Logan Allen could not throw a slider for a strike. He was desperate to try to keep it down because the Tigers were hitting everything in the air against him. And Bo got down and blocked everything. So I will give him credit. And he should have thrown a runner on at second twice, but Jimenez, for whatever reason, couldn't get the ball in his glove. So better defensively tonight.
I just want to point out something interesting is, like, looking at this Tigers team real quick. I was a huge Alex Faedo mark. I really like Tyler Holton in Florida. Alex Lang, who was out there at the end.
Florida.
He was LSU, wasn't he? But Faedo was Florida, and Holton was Florida State. But the reason I bring these guys up, I liked all of them. Starters to relievers. Like, just always keep that in mind when we talk about Sam Henches. You look at I think Heron was not a starter in college. I could be wrong there.
No, he was not.
But it's like a lot of starters to relievers. Like, that just stood out to me. And that's the other thing. Like, Cleveland faced a good pen, and they were able to outduel them today. And that's going to happen. But I'm not going to get too down when they score 7 runs.
Not at all, no. And we said we're not going to get down the pen because they had a bad night. It's going to happen. I mean, I can't remember last time Tim Heron even gave up a run, and defense kind of let him down there anyway.
1.06 ERA after today.
Yeah, just insane. And Cade Smith's been great too, so no reason to get down on them. That's going to happen. And honestly, I'd rather have it happen tonight on a night where your offense was scoring, so you felt like at least there was a chance to come back the way the offense was hitting. It's just they never got it back together, and it's that bottom of the order. It's got to find consistency. You've got to get something out of Manzardi. Rocchio did his job for the most part. Freeman and Naylor, really not a whole lot, even though I know Naylor got unlucky on the one. All right, we'll talk about game 3 in this series, and we will talk about why picking it 1-1 comes with a different way to look at risk in the Guardians draft this year. So stay tuned for that.
So let's talk about our good friends over at Prize Picks. And when I open up their page, it's interesting right now to go look at their numbers and statistics and all of that, like, because it's just you versus the numbers. You don't have to worry about anyone else. Just you. Is like they've got. I need to know more about stuff, but right now what's interesting is the WNBA is leading off, and I guess maybe there's just not much time left, but like Caitlin Clark, half a point, maybe left in the game. Is she going to get more than half a point? It's all WNBA stuff right now. 21.5 points overall in one of her games. You think she'll be more or less? The WNBA is hot. That's where apparently the action is. It took me right there. If I switch over the MLB side of things, Bryce Harper hit her fantasy score of 8.5 against Toronto. I don't know how I feel about that one. This is where you got to do your math.
Not good. Go up. Yep.
I know they're bad. You got to dig in. You got to see. I think this is interesting. Going over to hockey, Jeremy Swayman versus Florida. 30.5 goalie saves. That's a lot of goalie saves. I feel like I would, but then it's a postseason. I think I might still go over, but that's the point. Prize Picks, it's you versus numbers. You do your research, you spend your time. If you are watching these games, you know best, you know what's likely to happen. Download the app, use the website, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's using the code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Also very easy to find the Guardians and Tigers rubber match on your SiriusXM app to listen to on Wednesday. Just search Guardians. That'll be Tanner Bivey versus Reese Olson. I don't want to make the prediction that it's going to be low scoring, but I hope for the Guardians' sake it's low scoring, because that would mean Tanner Bivey's pitching well, and the Tigers' offense had a good night Tuesday, but it's not a good offense overall. And the Guardians need 6 innings from Tanner Bivey in the worst way, just because of I don't know. You're going to place the White Sox in a 4-game set. They don't have an off day until next Thursday, so a week from today when we're talking about this. That's Thursday, by the way, or it's another Wednesday. I'm sorry. So they don't have another off day for another 7 straight games. So starting pitching is going to need to get better over the next week, and that's going to include everybody. Bivey against the Tigers and the White Sox. You're going to have Carrasco and Allen again, and McKenzie's going to face them. Pretty much everybody except for, I think, Logan Allen will face them. So, yeah, going to be the only person that won't face him is Tanner Bivey, because he's going on Wednesday. So starting pitching is going to have to be better against the Tigers. But Reese Olson is a tough customer too. He has pitched very well this year. It's going to be a tough matchup. You mentioned not seeing Gabby Arias. Rocchio's approach has been much better lately. The hits haven't been there. I haven't seen him really put up good ball in play recently, but he is staying in the zone. He's walking when the pitches aren't there. But that's the problem with Arias' approach right now. It's just kind of a mess. So I don't know. I expect Rocchio to be back in there on Wednesday. Probably expect David Fry to catch, I'm assuming. And then
After a night game, I bet it's outside chances hedges.
Yeah, they could use someone to get the starting pitcher on track. Yeah. That's the big thing is pitch calling right now for Tanner Bivey this year has been very weird. Him and Bo have seemed like they've been out of sync in terms of sequencing. He threw a lot of curveballs in that last start, and curveball is his 4th best pitch. It's okay, but it's not you don't want to get beat on your worst pitch. You'd rather go out and throw your best pitch. So
I know
that's a risk.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, I was just going to jump into the draft thing.
So we were talking about risk there, about getting being your 4th worst pitch. Wanted to have this conversation about the difference picking 1-1, because the Guardians have taken a lot of risks in the first round. But I don't want to steal your thunder, Jeff, but as you move down the draft board, like you said, the ceiling and the safety is no longer there the further down you pick. The Guardians are used to picking in that 15 to 25 range. Mm-hmm. The safety is no longer there. So you're
Plus, you can just encourage those guys to go to the Dominican Republic, right? That was the news of the day.
Oof. Yeah, that's a rough one. I honestly did not think about that.
I've thought about it before, but we've seen so few examples. I'm just very curious about that. What caused that story to break? So when it comes to the draft, one of the things I have to scream from the rooftops is I did the math. I went through and did the years of draft data. You have a better chance of a college player being a star level player, getting to a 12+ WAR over his career, than a high school player does of getting to 6. So we're saying that just the bare minimum 6 WAR, a college player is more likely to get to double that than a prep guy is to even get to the minimum. So you're taking a bigger risk for a smaller chance at the high payout. So you should just first off eliminate, unless it is a generational talent, any high school name. And for the most part, that's been there. But here's the other thing. There is always ceiling. Always ceiling in a draft. What goes away first is floor. What goes away first is safety. It's when you look at the top players in this class. For a reason. Yeah, because it's harder to get that stuff down. I was talking with Justin before the show. One of the most interesting guys in this draft to me is Marcus Morgan. I've talked about him multiple times. Iowa kid, 4-star athlete, could have gone and been a quarterback at the Division II level. His dad played basketball at Iowa. His sister plays in the WNBA. His brother plays in the G League. I think his aunts and uncles were Olympians, or maybe that's the Nailers, and I'm getting confused with Denzel Clark's parents. But I believe he's, it's all this stuff over. He's got 2 off-speed pitches that he can spin like heck, and a fastball in the mid-90s. That sounds like a first rounder, doesn't it? He's not even in MLB's top 150 because he's got command issues. There's control issues, but he's at Iowa and, Brody Brecht and Cade Obermueller. It's maybe the most interesting rotation in college baseball, and they're all struggling. So it's the ceiling is high. You can get that guy probably in the 5th or 6th round in spite of that. This is why there are so many fantastic players who are not first round picks. But there's always Garrett Scholl. Like, we want to talk about big time power. Aiden Harris probably has the best raw power this entire draft.
Easily. Mm-hmm.
It's not Jock. It's not Condon. It's Aiden Harris. He's, I don't know, maybe 2nd or 3rd round. High school kid. It's close to 80 grade as there is in this class. But ceiling is always available. If you have money to spend, ceiling is always available. There are always high ceiling guys. Now you're trying to mitigate ceiling versus floor. And that's basically like, how high of a floor can we get while still having a ceiling? And that's going to be the debate. Because here's the thing. I don't think there's anyone out there who thinks that Travis Bazzana isn't the safest player in this class. I think if you know baseball and you know the draft, he is the safest guy. I think even most people who are big Condon fans who really know the game would agree with that. Now, does Condon have the higher ceiling? Yes, because of the power potential. And guys with his size. Now, his size is the the double two-bladed sword. Is that the acronym?
Double-edged sword. Yeah.
Yeah, because man, I'm tired. Sorry, people, but it's like the guys over 6'5" also have a much higher failure rate. Like, that was one of the reasons Aaron Judge fell in his draft. It was like 6'7". No one at 6'7" ever hits. I remember that because I scouted him at Fresno and I was the high man. I had him at 16. No one else had him in their top 20. Now, again, I had him at 16, so it's not like I can take that as a win. It's not like I put Aaron Judge in the top 20. But I've been doing this long enough where I did have Aaron Judge in there. I did go through and have people tell me there's no point to Judge because he's too big and it will never be successful. So there's risks, and 4 teams, it's just going to come down. But what is he?
He's a unicorn.
Unicorn, yeah. Don't comp anyone to Aaron Judge. That's the easiest comp. I think, like, for Nick Castellanos to Charlie Condon might be one of the best comps in this draft in terms of profile. But I just think it's important to know that if they take Condon, great. I trust that they have the data to back that up, and that they think that the ceiling versus safety thing. And again, it's not like he's a huge risk. He's not quite as safe. But
it's a different level of risk, right?
Yes.
It's more palatable. It's palatable risk, and it's okay to
for both of us is not palatable.
Exactly. It's, if you're picking 5th overall and Cags is there, yeah, you take Cags because guess what? He is the next most talented player on the board. Each pick you go down, you lose safety, right? That's pretty much how it goes. There's a reason for that. It's because, like you said, safety goes first because you can always have higher ceiling players lower in the draft and you can take a bigger risk. The Guardians have done a terrible job with risk. And that's not to say it's a bad pick. It just hasn't worked out for them. I mean, when they get to the 15 to 25 range, you're taking the best player available and you are lacking safety. So you're saying, you know what? We're not going to get a guy that we think for sure is going to be this level of player. The Guardians have not had access to players like Bazzana and Condon before. So it's probably not as smart to continue playing risks 1-1 overall. You can do that down the board because guess what? Even though we know this class is top heavy with bats, there are still some good bats depth-wise later in the class, and the same with pitching. That's why you're not taking pitching 1-1 overall, right? Because this class's pitching stinks for the most part, but when you get to day 2, it's much better in terms of depth. So you can take some more risks there, and you can do some more developmental things, and they have money to spend. Spend the money on the risks later in the draft that you couldn't get before. Take the safety early, and if they take Condon, like you said, that assumes they know there is a level of risk there that is a little bit lower than what they normally did. It's just, you have to absolve as much risk as you can with that first overall pick because there's no, do-overs here. They won the lottery with a 2.7% chance. And if they make the playoffs this year, they're not going back in the lottery and who knows, but you really don't get a lot of chances.
Go get someone like Jaden Key, who I sent to you yesterday, who's like, as a 103 max exit velocity as a high schooler. Like, that's where you want to go make those. And it's, again, to us, it's a clear 1-2 this year. And I think that's just what it really comes down to.
Right. But there's taking Chase DeLauters and Ralphie Velasquez and Daniel Espinos. They're taking those shots down the board because that's who's there. And you're not going to get safety at the top of the class.
No, they gambled on health.
They gambled on health. This year, that shouldn't be a problem, but you want to try to eliminate as much risk as you can with this pick, because this is one you don't want to blow. And I understand, even though we think Condon has more upside, doesn't mean Bazana is not going to be a great player.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
Well, all of our listeners, you are not slouches. We appreciate you sticking around for this conversation, and especially if the Guardians had a rough day overall. So thank you for listening. Please leave us a review.
Everydayer Stephen Hill.
Yes.
And thank you all for joining us. Remember to rate and review. Download, it helps. Click that bell and all that fun stuff, and go Guardians.